In 1915, thousands of Armenian families were forced to leave their homes, carrying only memories, traditions, and a few precious recipes passed down through generations. Food became more than nourishment, it became survival, identity, and comfort during one of the most painful migrations in history. As Armenian immigrants arrived in new lands across the Middle East, Europe, and America, they rebuilt their lives from nothing. Kitchens became places of healing. Mothers and grandmothers recreated familiar dishes to remind their families of home, even when everything else had been lost. Armenian cuisine is known for its deep flavors, slow cooking, and strong connection to community. These recipes were simple but powerful. Most were made using affordable ingredients: grains, beans, vegetables, yogurt, and small amounts of meat. Every dish told a story of resilience. Here are 30 traditional Armenian-inspired recipes that helped immigrant families survive and start over. 1. Lavash bread. 2. Korog sweet braided bread. 3. Harissa slow-cooked wheat and chicken porridge. 4. Dolma stuffed grape leaves. 5. Sarma stuffed cabbage rolls. 6. Lentil soup. 7. Chickpea stew. 8. Yogurt soup. 9. Bulgur pilaf. 10. Rice pilaf. 11. Fasolia bean stew. 12. Kufta meat dumplings. 13. Manti Armenian dumplings. 14. Basturma spice dried beef. 15. Sujuk garlic sausage. 16. Stuffed peppers. 17. Eggplant stew. 18. Zucchini dolma. 19. Potato stew. 20. Tomato and cucumber salad. 21. Cheese borek. 22. Spinach borek. 23. Pumpkin stew. 24. Semolina pudding. 25. Rice pudding. 26. Honey pastries. 27. Date sweets. 28. Walnut cake. 29. Gada traditional pastry. 30. Armenian coffee. Lavash bread was one of the most important foods. Thin, soft, and easy to make, it could be used as a wrap, a plate, or a spoon. Immigrant families baked it on hot stones or makeshift ovens, keeping the tradition alive even in refugee camps. Harissa was a dish of patience, made by slowly cooking wheat and chicken for hours. It symbolized endurance. Families gathered around pots of harissa during cold nights, finding warmth in both the food and each other. Dolma and sarma were celebration foods. Even when ingredients were scarce, Armenian women stuffed grape leaves or cabbage with rice, herbs, and tiny amounts of meat. These dishes were served during weddings, religious holidays, and community gatherings. Bulgur and rice pilaf became daily staples. Cheap, filling, and easy to store, these grains form the backbone of immigrant diets. Often mixed with onions and spices, they provided comfort and strength. Yogurt played a central role in Armenian cooking. It was eaten plain, mixed into soups, or used as a sauce. Yogurt-based meals were affordable and nutritious, perfect for families starting over with limited resources. Sweets were simple but meaningful. Gada and honey pastries were baked for special occasions, reminding families of happier times. Armenian coffee, thick and strong, became a ritual of storytelling and connection. These recipes were not just meals, they were acts of survival. Through food, Armenian immigrants preserved their culture, rebuilt communities, and taught their children who they were and where they came from. In new countries, these dishes slowly spread beyond Armenian homes. Neighbors tasted dolma, borek, and pilaf, and Armenian food became part of global cuisine. What began as survival cooking turned into a culinary legacy. Every pot of stew, every rolled grape leaf, and every baked loaf of bread carried history. These recipes helped families heal, survive, and start again. For Armenian immigrants beginning new lives after 1915, food was often the only thing that felt familiar. Kitchens, whether in refugee camps, rented rooms, or shared immigrant housing became places of memory and survival. Every recipe carried the taste of home and the strength to endure loss. Most Armenian families had little money. Recipes relied on affordable, shelf-stable ingredients that could feed many people. Bulgur, lentils, beans, onions, and herbs formed the foundation of daily meals. Meat was used sparingly, stretched across several dishes, or saved for special occasions. Soups were especially important. A single pot could nourish an entire family. Lentil soup, chickpea soup, and yogurt-based soups were cooked daily. These meals were warm, filling, and easy to digest for children and elders alike. Here are more powerful Armenian recipes that supported immigrant families as they rebuilt their lives. 1. Red lentil soup. 2. Chickpea and tomato stew. 3. Yogurt and wheat soup. 4. Spinach and herb soup. 5. Bulgur soup. 6. Lentil kofte. 7. Bulgur kofte. 8. Meatless dolma. 9. Rice stuffed onions. 10. Stuffed eggplant. 11. Stuffed tomatoes. 12. Potato borek. 13. Onion borek. 14. Herb flatbread. 15. Garlic yogurt sauce. 16. Tomato egg stew. 17. Simple meat pilaf. 18. Vegetable pilaf. 19. Lentil pilaf. 20. Wheat pilaf. 21. Fried eggplant slices. 22. Stewed greens. 23. Pickled vegetables. 24. Yogurt with herbs. 25. Cheese and bread. 26. Olive oil dishes. 27. Boiled eggs with spices. 28. Semolina halva. 29. Sweetened wheat porridge. 30. Herbal teas. Many dishes were vegetarian by necessity. Olive oil replaced meat fat, and herbs added depth of flavor. These meals were not born from luxury, but from creativity under hardship. Dolma made without meat became common. Rice, herbs, and spices filled grape leaves, peppers, and onions. These dishes were lighter but still deeply satisfying, proving that food could be meaningful even when resources were scarce. Borek pastries were stretched thin to feed many mouths. Layers of dough wrapped around simple fillings like potatoes, onions, or greens. Borek was filling, portable, and perfect for long working days. Pilaf was served almost daily. Bulgur pilaf was especially popular because it cooked quickly and was inexpensive. Families flavored it with onions, tomato paste, and spices, creating comfort meals that reminded them of home. Pickling was essential. Vegetables preserved in salt and vinegar lasted through long seasons. Pickles added brightness and balance to heavy meals and became a signature part of Armenian tables. Herbal teas replaced expensive coffee. Chamomile, mint, and other herbs were brewed for warmth and health. These teas became evening rituals, often shared while elders told stories of the past. Through these recipes, Armenian immigrants passed down language, tradition, and memory. Children learned their culture at the table. Each meal reinforced identity and belonging. Food also built bridges. Neighbors were invited to share meals. Armenian dishes slowly entered local communities, creating understanding through taste. These recipes were acts of quiet resistance. In cooking, Armenian families refused to let their culture disappear. Through food, they survived and began again. As Armenian immigrant communities slowly stabilized, food became a way not just to survive, but to rebuild dignity and joy. Even in difficult circumstances, families preserved special dishes for religious holidays, weddings, and community gatherings. These meals reminded them that life continued and that their culture endured. Celebration foods were carefully planned. Ingredients were saved for weeks to prepare dishes that symbolized abundance and hope. Cooking together strengthened bonds and helped heal trauma through shared labor and memory. Here are 30 meaningful Armenian recipes often prepared for gatherings and milestones. 1. Wedding pilaf. 2. Holiday dolma 3. Festive manti 4. Lamb and wheat stew 5. Celebration kofta 6. Baked fish with herbs 7. Stuffed pumpkin 8. Stuffed grape leaves with meat 9. Rice and raisin pilaf 10. Cinnamon spiced rice 11. Sweet bulgur pilaf 12. Honey glazed carrots 13. Herb omelette 14. Cheese stuffed flatbread 15. Spinach and cheese borek 16. Meat borek 17. Yogurt marinated chicken 18. Roasted lamb pieces 19. Tomato-based stews 20. Eggplant casserole 21. Stuffed zucchini 22. Walnut stuffed pastries 23. Honey cake 24. Dried fruit compote 25. Rosewater pudding 26. Semolina cake 27. Gouda pastries 28. Nut rolls 29. Armenian sweet coffee 30. Spiced tea manti held special meaning. These tiny dumplings took time and patience to prepare. Entire families gathered to fold them, turning cooking into a social event. Manti symbolized care, effort, and unity. Dolma was another celebration dish. Rolling grape leaves by hand was both art and ritual. Even in cramped kitchens, women taught younger generations how to fold, fill, and cook dolma correctly. Sweet dishes marked moments of joy. Cakes and pastries flavored with honey, walnuts, and rosewater were prepared for weddings and religious holidays. These flavors connected families to memories of home and tradition. Pilaf was transformed for celebrations. Rice and bulgur were cooked with butter, raisins, and spices. Even small additions made everyday food feel special. Food also played a role in community building. Armenian churches and community centers often hosted shared meals. Everyone contributed something, even if it was just bread or tea. These shared meals created safety and belonging. Elders shared stories. Children learned traditions. Food became a bridge between past and future. Over time, Armenian recipes blended with local ingredients and customs. Dishes evolved, but their heart remained unchanged. Armenian food became both a link to the past and a path forward. These recipes show that even after loss, people can create beauty. Through food, Armenian families reclaimed identity, preserved memory, and built new lives one meal at a time. Not every Armenian immigrant meal in the years after 1915 was about celebration. Most days were about survival. Families lived in cramped rooms, temporary shelters, or refugee camps, where ingredients were limited and kitchens were improvised. Yet even in these conditions, cooking remained an act of strength. Many recipes were simplified versions of traditional dishes. Meat was rare and expensive, so vegetables, grains, and legumes became the foundation of daily meals. Bread, soup, and porridge were eaten multiple times a day. Here are 30 humble yet powerful recipes that sustained Armenian immigrant families through their hardest years. 1. Plain bulgur porridge. 2. Wheat soup with onions. 3. Lentil and water stew. 4. Bean soup. 5. Rice with salt and oil. 6. Flatbread cooked on stone. 7. Onion and tomato fry. 8. Boiled potatoes. 9. Mashed chickpeas. 10. Lentil mash. 11. Yogurt and bread meal. 12. Cracked wheat soup. 13. Cabbage water soup. 14. Simple vegetable stew. 15. Turnip soup. 16. Carrot mash. 17. Pickled cabbage. 18. Pickled cucumbers. 19. Salted olives. 20. Dried herbs with bread. 21. Garlic water broth. 22. Oil and vinegar salad. 23. Fried bread scraps. 24. Molasses bread. 25. Wheat pancakes. 26. Semolina porridge. 27. Sweetened rice water. 28. Herbal infusions. 29. Hot water with honey. 30. Leftover stew. Reuse. These meals were small but filling. Families learned to stretch food over days. A pot of soup cooked in the morning might be eaten again at night and the next day. Bread was sacred. Every crumb mattered. Stale bread was soaked, fried, or crumbled into soups. Nothing was wasted. Yogurt and fermented foods helped preserve nutrition. When milk was available, families fermented it to last longer and improve digestion. Herbs were used for both flavor and healing. Mint, thyme, and chamomile were brewed into teas to calm stomachs and minds. Cooking was done with minimal tools. Open fires, shared stoves, and borrowed pots were common. Despite this, meals were prepared with care and dignity. Children learned early how to cook. Knowledge passed quickly between generations because food meant survival. These simple meals carried emotional weight. Eating together gave families moments of normalcy. Even the most basic dish reminded them that they were still alive and still Armenian. Over time, as families found work and stability, these survival meals became symbols of endurance. They were remembered not for taste, but for the strength they represented. These recipes tell the quiet story of resilience. When everything else was lost, food remained. By the years following 1915, Armenian immigrant families had endured unimaginable loss. Homes were gone, communities were shattered, and familiar landscapes existed only in memory. Yet through food, Armenians rebuilt something just as important as shelter: identity. Recipes became living history. They were not written down at first. They were remembered. Mothers cooked by instinct, guided by taste and memory rather than measurements. Each dish recreated a piece of the past and passed it into the future. As Armenian families settled more permanently in new countries, their food evolved. Local ingredients replaced unavailable ones, but the soul of each recipe remained. What mattered most was not perfection, it was continuity. Here are 30 enduring Armenian recipes that symbolized rebuilding, stability, and hope. 1. Family-style pilaf. 2. Sunday lentil soup. 3. Herb-filled dolma. 4. Slow-cooked harissa. 5. Hand-rolled manti. 6. Yogurt-marinated meat. 7. Vegetable stews with olive oil. 8. Eggplant-based dishes. 9. Tomato and pepper stews. 10. Cheese-filled borak. 11. Spinach and herb pastries. 12. Simple grilled meats. 13. Wheat and butter dishes. 14. Chickpea pilaf. 15. Rice with vermicelli. 16. Fresh herb salads. 17. Garlic yogurt sides. 18. Lentil kofte. 19. Bulgur kofte. 20. Pickled vegetables. 21. Homemade flatbreads. 22. Honey-based desserts. 23. Walnut-filled pastries. 24. Gata variations. 25. Semolina cakes. 26. Rice pudding. 27. Sweetened wheat desserts. 28. Armenian coffee rituals. 29. Herbal teas. 30. Shared celebration meals. Food became education. Children learned who they were through what they ate. A grape leaf rolled carefully. A pot stirred slowly. A table set. Even when resources were scarce, meals became gatherings. Neighbors were invited. Community kitchens formed. Armenian churches and cultural centers used food to preserve language, customs, and faith. These recipes also became bridges. Non-Armenian neighbors tasted dolma and pilaf and learned Armenian stories. Through flavor, food created understanding where words sometimes failed. Over generations, these dishes traveled further into restaurants, cookbooks, and global kitchens. What began as survival cooking became celebrated cuisine. Yet for Armenian families, the meaning remained deeply personal. Each recipe carries memory. Harissa recalls endurance. Lavash represents adaptability. Dolma symbolizes patience and care. Gata speaks of celebration after hardship. Food did not erase pain, but it offered comfort. It gave families routine when life felt uncertain. It turned strangers into community and loss into legacy. These 30 recipes helped Armenian immigrants do more than survive. They helped them start over with dignity, culture, and hope. In every kitchen where these dishes are still prepared, history lives on. Each meal is a quiet act of remembrance, resilience, and love.